Hey guys, I'm gonna continue where I was. The two inmates who had broken out during the brief jailbreak were gone now, moved somewhere else. Replacing them were others, all similar, with haunted eyes and menacing faces. Bruce stopped at the front end of the hall, right before the first security cam on the ceiling, and then turned on the device. It didn't make a sound, at least none he could hear. Bruce let it run through every frequency it could. The seconds dragged on, then a match. He heard a faint click from one of the cams. The others all followed in a domino effect of sound. The red light, usually shining on each cam, had now gone dark. Bruce waited. When a blue light blinked on, indicating a reset, he pressed the device again and set all the cams on the wrong band so that they were not recording footage of the hall. He headed for Madeline's cell. She was awake and alert. Her face was turned up at the ceiling, as if pondering the security cameras once more. Bruce wondered if she already knew what he had done. Not only could their meeting be off the record, but if she really was using the cams as a rudimentary way to communicate with the outside world, then he temporarily shut that down too. She turned to look at him as he approached her cell window. I thought you weren't allowed down here anymore. The Nightwalker struck just a few hours ago. Bruce rested a fist against the glass. The mayor was killed. But you might already know that, don't you? She nodded up at the broken cams. You have some sort of system in place to communicate. If Bruce weren't so used to Madeline's enigmatically calm expression, he wouldn't have thought much of her sharp blink, the subtlest gesture showing that she was surprised. So, early this morning, Bruce, and so upset. You've been thinking about me. Her words, so familiar. Sorry. Her words were so similar to what she had said to him in his dream that Bruce had to take a step away from the window, as if the extra distance might protect him from her. He hoped she couldn't see his flush and guess. Instant little I hate that. Alright. He hoped she couldn't see his flush and guess instantly what his dream had been about. That even now he couldn't help looking at her lips. It had all felt so real. Come on, Madeline, he said, lowering his voice. He couldn't afford to be confrontational with her right now. He needed her to see him as vulnerable, to let down her own guard. Haven't we talked enough to skip all the games? Look, the mayor was my friend's father. He looked away for a moment, then stepped forward to put his hand on the glass again. You've helped me once before. Give me a clue that given me the should be given me that clue that uncovered one of the Nightwalker's hideouts. You know something, anything. Please tell me. Madeline sighed. second. She even appeared angry, as if the news Bruce was delivering to her was not what she'd expected. Then she got up and walked over to the window, separating them. Her nearness reminded Bruce again of his dream, her arms around his neck, pulling him down, her lips moving against his, and he swallowing hard, trying to push it away. I don't think you committed those murders. I think you're involved, that you know who did, but you're not coming forward for some strange reason. You're taking the fall, and I think you can help me stop the killing of more innocent people if you would just let me in. His words seemed to surprise her again. She studied his face, thoughtful. Now, for a moment, the glint in her eyes actually seemed to belong to a teenager. Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, she said softly. Her eyes were strangely warm now, the hazel shining brightly through. Two kinds of people come out of personal tragedy, you know? And you're the kind that comes out brighter. What kind are you, then? Madeline stared at him, not answering, and a chill passed through Bruce. Was he being a complete fool? Then he stepped as close to the glass as she could. Oh, then she sorry. Then she stepped as close to the glass as she could, so that her breath fogged its surface. Listen carefully, she said, her voice so quiet he could barely hear her. He leaned towards the glass. The Night Walkers had originally planned to break into the mayor's bank accounts weeks ago. They got a tip, some help from the inside. The inside? Who? Bruce said, his voice hushed and urgent, shaking her head. That's not important. If they've already attacked, then that means their whole schedule has been accelerated, which means the rest of their list has also sped up. Their list? Yeah, dummy. They're going to kill all you billionaires, you dunce. Their list. Bruce held his breath. All of this time, Madeline had known what would come next, had held this information hostage from all of them. You intentionally kept this upcoming attack a secret from the police. You could have saved him had we known. We could have saved him had we known. The mayor's life was never supposed to be on the table. So you are a member of the Night Walkers. I know enough to warn you. A vice clenched around his stomach. Warn me about what? About you. Be careful, Bruce. You're on the list. What list? He whispered, afraid to hear it. The list of the Night Walkers' targets. Each one had been paying off the mayor to look the other way while they lined their pockets with government funds. You know what that means, don't you? Millions that should have gone to helping the poor, paying for the sick, educating the youth, protecting the streets, all waved away with the mayor's magic wand. The mayor's time had simply run out. Corrupt officials, philanthropists, and dark dealings. The mayor himself taking bribes and participating in fraud. And me? Bruce snapped. Why am I on that list? done none of those things. My parents were good people. They enacted real change with their wealth. All I've done is try to continue their legacy. Wayne Tech is going to make millions on that contract to improve Gotham City's police forces, isn't it? Madeline's expression was grave now. The Nightwalkers fight against obscene wealth that controls the hands of government, the shackles that imprison those too weak to defend themselves. They don't believe anyone should have the right to that much money and power. Death to tyranny. She said it like it was a slogan, and Bruce felt a chill sweep through him again as he recognized it from the note left by the Nightwalkers at the mayor's murder scene. They fight against people like you, regardless of whether or not you've been lumped in with the wrong crowd. They hadn't targeted you before because you had yet to turn 18 and come into possession of your funds. And now you're on the radar. You have the wealth they want. She paused. You're next, Bruce. Her words sounded more like a threat than a warning. And what do you suggest I do? Leave Gotham City. Madeline replied immediately. Go take a trip somewhere. Fly to Tahiti and spend the rest of the summer there. You're done with your time here at Arkham. Soon anyway, right? That'll be the end of our conversations. Stay out of the Nightwalker's way. Bruce shook his head in confusion. Why are you doing this? You seem like you want to stop them. You're trying to protect me, but now you don't want to get in the Nightwalker's way? Do you support them or not? What are you doing, Madeline? Who are you protecting? Madeline just looked at him as if she wished there was some other way. He could feel something invisible pulling him towards her, and she leaned towards him. Then she turned away. I'm sorry, she said with a glance over her shoulder. And that was it. Wait, he called after her, but she didn't turn back around. He was in danger. He was on the list. You have to tell me more. You know what they're... Bruce! He whirled to see Detective Draken storming down the end of the hall, her long coat flapping behind her, Dr. James close at her side. What the hell are you doing down here? Dr. James blurted out at the sight of him. Her eyes darted up to the security cams, which were again blinking red. You're off the case. Done. Bruce glanced back into Madeline's cell. She wasn't facing him, but her stillness told him that she was listening to what was happening. As the detective and warden reached him, Madeline turned her head enough for him to glimpse the profile of her face. She was smiling slightly. You don't understand, he said to them, pointing out at Madeline. She knows more about the mayor's murder. She said that you are coming with me. Draken cut him off. Her hand clamped down on Bruce's arm. And if I so much as see you look in the direction of that girl again, I'll send you back to court myself. Rain dotted the windshield of Draken's car as she drove Bruce off Arkham's premises. As they headed into the winding path framed by skeleton trees the detective's dark eyes flashing with fury and dim light. What about my car? Bruce glanced over his shoulder towards the asylum. GCPD will have it back to you in a couple of hours. Draken snapped, handing him a folded piece of paper. After the mayor's death and your actions this morning, it wasn't difficult to get a warrant to search your car. Besides, I want to see you actually arrive home with my own two eyes. Who knows what else you're getting up to yourself? You suspect me of something? Am I being unreasonable after you displayed it today? She glanced at him. I specifically told you not to go down there. Why'd you do it? I had to ask Madeline one last question. Detective, Madeline can point us to who killed the mayor. She knows. I think the Night Walkers are up to something big, and I know what I think. I think you're sad to leave her. Tell me, Bruce. What was it, a coincidence that the security cams down there reset at the same time you decided to walk to Madeline without my consent? I don't know what you're talking about. You can cut the act with me. You think I've never seen a boy in love? She sniffed once as she made a sharper turn. She needed to. Sending her bag and papers sliding across the car's back seat. I've fallen in and out of love more times than I can count. And let me tell you, you've made a little room for her in your heart in that heart of yours. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but this one's probably not going to work out. Bruce tried to imagine the detective in love letting down the authoritative shell she operated behind. That's ridiculous. Is it? Why do you keep talking to her then? Draken had been watching the security tapes closely. Bruce looked over at her to see her expression her expression had turned clinical, and that she was fishing for more. He took a deep breath. I don't think Madeline killed those people. Draken shot Bruce a hard glance. What makes you think that? I was reading about the details of her crimes and of her mother's crimes. She seems like she's protecting someone out there who's still at large. You know those napkins she's always folding? I don't think she's just doing that for fun. I think she's folding them to send messages with her gestures via the security cams. And the mayor was murdered this morning. Someone else is still out there, committing the crimes that we thought Madeline was responsible for. It just doesn't add up. Draken leaned forward against the steering wheel. Wow, you've got it worse than I thought. I'm saying this objectively. I'm not stupid. No, you're just naive. Draken's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. When we arrested her, it was at the scene of the final murder. I was one of the officers shining the spotlight on her. She was covered in blood. Bruce, with cuts in her gloves and knives strapped to her legs. Her fingerprints were all over the house. When the police questioned her afterwards, asking if she'd done it, she nodded for each of the murders. She's far too smart to leave fingerprints all over the house. You haven't stood there and had conversations with her. You haven't heard her. If you did, you'd understand what I mean. I haven't talked to her because she chooses to talk to you. Why do you think that is? You're questioning my work, Bruce? The work of the entire police department? She killed those people. Now she's giving us, you, some information that's slightly useful to us because she's finally realized that it might help her avoid the death penalty. It doesn't do her any good to keep holding information back. And what all have you done to try getting more information out of her? What do you mean? I mean, do you and Dr. James also authorize Arkham to treat her roughly? What are you talking about, Drakens? What are you talking about? Sorry, I can't do female. Not well. Not like that. Draken's irritation turned into bewilderment. Her bruises. You must have seen them before, too. A while ago, when I spoke to her, she had deep scratch marks along her wrists, and her arm was black and blue. That's absurd. No one has ever touched her. It happened on the same day she got her IV medication. Did she get those bruises while she was in the medical wing? Bruce, she doesn't need IV medication. And even if she did, we'd administer it in her cell. She's not meant to go anywhere outside her confines. Bruce hesitated at that. He turned to look at the detective. She told me she got into a fight with the nurse when she tried to inject her with medicine. But even as he said it, the words came out. Draken looked, shook her head. She was lying. I didn't mean for it to come out like that. She was lying. Then Bruce frowned, trying to understand. Did she bruise herself as a ruse? Maybe you should check your security tapes. Send someone in there to check on her. If she really has bruises, then you probably need to make sure some employee isn't going in there to hurt her. She's still a vulnerable asset to you, isn't she? Draken hesitated, making an annoyed sound in her throat. I'll call the warden. Then she glanced at Bruce. I told you early on to be careful around this girl. She's not normal, Bruce. She's not someone you can open up to and expect her to do the same back. She's not someone you can have a conversation with and come away thinking that you understand her better. The detective looked sidelong at him. Now, what else has she told you to pass along to me? Bruce hesitated. Leave Gotham City, she told him. But maybe she'd been lying about that too. Draken slowed to a stop at a light, then turned to Bruce. Listen carefully, kid. If there's something she told you that I should know, and you need to tell me now, got it? She needs to know. Bruce looked back at the detective. She said I was on a hit list. She told me to get out of Gotham City for my own safety. A hit list? She told me to get out of Gotham City for my own safety. Yeah, that's written twice. I didn't read it twice. It's written twice. Draken considered him for a moment. Then she let out a curse and picked up her phone. Send a security detail to Wayne Manor. By the time they reached the front gates, to Bruce's estate, the rain had stopped altogether. The path leading up to the main gates was still empty. The security detail had yet to arrive. Immediately. Excuse me. Pardon me. Sorry, guys. The security detail had yet to arrive. Immediately, Bruce felt like something was wrong. Off. Detective Draken slowed to a stop in front of the gates. In front of the gates, intercom, and was about to speak into the glass surface when Bruce reached a hand out to stop her. Wait, he said, his eyes focused on the gates. Are your gates typically unlocked? Draken said, now seeing what had caught Bruce's attention. No, in fact, never. Alfred did not have a habit of leaving gates unlocked, even if he was expecting Bruce to come home. There was no denying that the gates were open right now. The two sides pulled so slightly apart that at first glance it seemed like they were still closed. There was just enough room between them for a single person to slip through. I apologize, guys. Bruce felt a wave of uneasiness. The gates were supposed to sound an alarm if left ajar like this, but now they sat silent, disabled. Wait, here, Draken said, her hand already on the hilt of her gun. But I stay in the car, Bruce. That's an order. Draken stepped out of the vehicle, drew her gun, and crept forward. Her coat draped loosely across her shoulders. She slid through the subtle opening between the gates. Madeline had warned him only an hour ago. Had his attention turned to the mansion itself. None of the lights were on, leaving the window plunged in gloom. A sickening feeling hit Bruce in the chest. Alfred. Draken had made her way into the front steps of the house. Now was slowly heading up the stairs, her back turned to one side, and her gun pointed down. She was muttering something into the radio clipped by her collar. Bruce looked in the rear window, still no security detail. He looked down towards the house where Draken was shouting for someone to open the door. A wave of dread washed over Bruce as Draken called out again, but Alfred still didn't show up and let her in. A moment later, Bruce heard the door creak open as Draken nudged it ajar. It was unlocked. The details of the murders came back to him in a flash. Trapped within their own homes. The Nightwalkers were here. They wanted him to go inside. Draken's tan coat had already disappeared behind the pillars, and she had made her way into the house. Bruce looked around the car for anything he could use as a weapon, but came away with nothing. If Madeline was right about this, if they were here for him, they'd come to find him out here soon enough. Bruce narrowed his eyes. Let them come to him. It would distract them from hurting Alfred. If they hadn't already done so, he opened the car door, stepped out, closed it. With a quiet snap, then he hurried through the gap. The house Bruce kept. Bruce crept forward, imitating the detective's stance, keeping his back against the pillars, his gaze constantly moving. He inched inside the door of the parlor. The house greeted him with shadows as he closed the door behind him and made a soft click. He paused, his hand still on the knob, then gave it a tug, a harder tug. The door refused to budge. He was locked in with the killers. Bruce could hear the roar of blood in his ears. Draken was nowhere to be seen. Dark streaks against one wall made him freeze in his tracks. Blood. Paint. He peered closer, unsure what he was seeing, then leaned away hastily when he realized what it was. A symbol had been spray painted on the wall, a crude shape of a coin consumed by flames. The Nightwalkers were here waiting for him. Bruce's nightmares came back to him full force, walking him down the dim corridors of his own home, running across Madeline in the halls, being hunted. No. He forced himself to close his eyes and steady his thinking. He had the advantage here. This was his house, and he knew it like the back of his hand. Could walk the grounds blindfolded if he had to. The darkness was his ally, not his enemy. Bruce moved forward with soft steps and aiming for the kitchen. He needed a weapon. From somewhere in the house came a sound of footsteps. They were not Alfred's. The hairs rose on the back of Bruce's neck. He kept going. The white drapes over the dining room furniture looked ghostly in the darkness. The door to his study was thrown wide open, his eyes locked, as always, on the unused grandfather clock. And as he stared, he saw a silhouette pass before it. His heart froze. Standing still amid death, swiftly crossed the hall into the kitchen, illuminated dimly by light from the window over the sink. Next to that window, he saw a row of knives displayed over the large wooden cutting board, immediately locked onto a metal bar. Footsteps in the main foyer. A little bump a bee. If it was Draken out there, she could easily shoot him by mistake. If he wasn't careful, he needed to hide. Bruce grabbed one of the knives from the metal bar, clutched it tight in his fist, and then felt his way through the shadows towards a large empty cabinet that had once contained a wine fridge. Suddenly he heard a shout coming from the direction of the garage. Halt! It was Draken. Please put your hands up or I will shoot. A rush of adrenaline flooded into Bruce's veins. The world around him seemed to sharpen. It reminded him of being trapped as a child in the caves underneath the manor. The water and the blackness and the creatures that seemed to close in from all sides. He shut his eyes for an instant. Fear clears the mind, panic clouds it. Bruce opened his eyes and forced himself to concentrate. A door slammed, following by the beep of an alarm. His mind raced as he plotted out the mansion's floor plan. Somehow had locked the garage door with the house's automated Someone had locked the garage door with the house's automated security. It couldn't have been Draken. The Nightwalkers had locked the detective away in the garage, isolating her. He couldn't hide here for long. Not if Draken was trapped. Not if Alfred was hurt. The intruders had come for him. They would stay until they found him. The balcony overlooking the living room. The weak railing. Bruce turned to the staircase leading up to the second floor, waiting to see if the path was clear. Taking a deep breath, Bruce darted out of the kitchen and up the stairs, avoiding the squeaky spots. A stranger's deep voice, amused and taunting, called out from downstairs, "Bruce!" Every hair on Bruce's neck rose at the sound. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "Don't panic," he reminded himself grimly. "Think." He tucked himself into the shadows cast by a series of marble busts and waited. Sure enough, the sound of the footsteps echoed from the stairs, and someone followed him up. The steps were heavy, distinctly a stranger's, and Bruce could hear the faint breathing of someone unfamiliar creeping up the stairs. Bruce tensed in the darkness, gripped his knife so hard his hand hurt. His knuckles had turned white against the hilt. He could strike out with it right now, surprise the person. But the thought of stabbing someone, even someone who had broken, fuck around, found. I know. Sammy's make out part of the stranger's silhouette, large, his shoulders hunched, and here the slight mismatch of his footsteps, timing a slight limp. His balance was poor. He passed near the balcony's weak railing, scanning ahead, searching now. Bruce lunged out of the darkness. The man's head snapped towards him. For an instant, Bruce caught sight of the face, lined, menacing, shocked. Bruce barreled into him. For a second, it didn't feel like enough, but the intruder stepped back to brace himself against the railing. It trembled, then gave way with a crack as it buckled under the man's weight. He tried in vain to stop his fall, but it was too late. With a hoarse yell, he fell from the second floor. His head hit the side of the couch below. He twitched, moaning on the floor. "Move," he told himself. He'd given away his location with this attack, and if others were in the house, they'd know where he was. His knife had dropped somewhere in the hall behind him. They had no time to turn around to find it. He darted ahead down the stairs. Footsteps and a dragging sound came from the kitchen. A muffled voice. He curled deeper into the shadows of the dining room. Beside him, the white drapes fluttered. He looked at them and then pulled them over a chair. "We know you're in here, Bruce Wayne." A different voice now called out. "That cop car out by the gates is awfully empty." "And how many Nightwalkers have invaded the manor?" Bruce saw dark silhouettes outlined in the kitchen. two men, with a third dragging behind them. His eyes settled on the third person, who had a white cloth shoved into his mouth. Alfred. He looked alert enough, but a bloody gash on his forehead, and most of his weight seemed supported by the two men, both of them with masks pulled over their heads. Every muscle in Bruce's body tightened with rage. Alfred, his guardian, had never looked weak in his life. Now at the mercy of these monsters. What if he already escaped? One of them muttered. They were drawing closer. No. House is rigged for that. We'll know it. Are you sure? Mads laid out the details of this house security system herself, I'm sure. Mads. Madeline. The name lodged in Bruce's thoughts, turning his stomach. How strange to hear her nickname. Maybe it fit her better, revealed her true side. Madeline had genuinely seemed to like him. She had even warned him to get out of Gotham City. But what if she had targeted him this entire time? Draken was right about everything. Yeah, one working person, good. Other working person, bad. Bruce's anger burned, and it fueled him. Her other three victims had died because they had trying to escape the house. That was their first mistake. Like the prey before they were even caught. But this was Bruce's home, his parents' home. They were on his turf now. And on his turf, he was the predator. Bruce crept soundlessly from his hiding place. They made his way around the kitchen counter. There was a remote trigger for the kitchen sink's grinder on the side of the island. He inched towards it now. On the island's other side, the men were looking down, focused on dragging Alfred between them. Bruce reached the island, held his breath, flipped the switch. The grinder burst to life, deafening the silence. The two men jumped, swearing, and in darkness, Bruce saw the outline of their guns as they whirled to look at the sink. Only Alfred looked the other way, towards the other side of the island, where Bruce crouched. The two men could turn back around. Before the two men could turn back around, Bruce. I'm sorry, guys. Alright, man, y'all. Bruce wrenched Alfred out of their grasp. One man turned and Bruce's fist connected with his jaw, then with his stomach. The man hunched over with a wheezing gasp. Alfred kicked out, catching the second man off balance. Bruce wasted no time. In a blink of an eye, he brought his fist up and hit him squarely in the chin. Throwing himself at the second man, Bruce knocked him to the ground. Chuck! He shouted, and Alfred dropped to the floor. You little... The second man growled. He had his hand shot out, and his gun glinted in the darkness. Bruce's eyes darted towards the dining room. Detective! He called out. The second man instinctively glanced over his shoulder and mistook the white sheet that Bruce draped against the back of a chair as Draken's long tan coat. He started swinging his body and gun towards what he thought was the detective. It was all the distraction Bruce needed. He aimed a punch straight at the man's neck. Sparring lessons from his coach flew through his mind. Before he could land a second hit, though, a rough hand yanked Bruce backwards. The first Night Walker staggered back to his feet and thrown his arm around Bruce's neck. The blow to his jaw had unsteadied him enough to make him sway on his feet, but he was heavy, far heavier than Bruce. Bruce twisted in vain, trying to reach his attacker, but his angle was wrong, and the man held on tighter. Bruce choked as air lodged in his throat. Blocked. That sentence feels so clumsy. He stumbled. Boss gonna be happy to see you, rich boy. The second man spat. Someone barreled into Bruce's captor. It was Alfred. He kicked the man hard in the side, right in the liver, and the man keeled over with a yell of agony. Bruce dragged in a breath, hit the man squarely in the jaw, and watched him go limp. Bruce Wayne. Bruce spun to see a tall figure standing in the kitchen entrance. A pair of goggles shone silver in the night. Metal glinted his arms and legs like armor. His face was concealed behind a mask, leaving only his mouth exposed. He broke into a grin that sent a chill down Bruce's spine. The leader of the Nightwalkers. Well, well. All grown up and newly rich, he pointed a gun at Bruce. The words echoed in his mind. Something seemed familiar about him. As if Bruce had met him once. As if Bruce had once met him in another life, but he had no time to dwell on this now. The man took aim. Bruce dropped. The bullet shattered the kitchen window behind him into a million pieces, and an alarm sounded. Bruce popped back up, yanked one of the knives off the metal bar, and flung it straight at the man. The boss had underestimated Bruce. He had made a small noise of surprise, twisting to one side. He had flying up to his face. Got him. Bruce thought, grabbed Alfred's arm and tried to drag Alfred out of the room, out of the gunfire. Sirens blared outside. Everyone froze. The flashing of red and blue lights could be seen through some of the windows. Draken's security detail had finally arrived. The boss glanced back at Bruce. Then he made up his mind. He barked out an order to his two Nightwalkers and threw something to the floor. It exploded, making the ground tremble, and a wave of black smoke rolled across them, engulfing the room and plunging them in complete darkness. Bruce hunched over, coughing. The boss called out a final farewell to Bruce. See you soon. A huge crash came from the garage where Draken was trapped. Bruce tried to reach the other men, but they had already fled into the haze of smoke. As Draken and the police came rushing into the house, the Nightwalkers vanished as quickly as they had come. All right, that's it for now.